Have you ever heard about the third value logic? So in a logic that you have something true or false or unknown. Okay? So in this case of logic, this case of logic is the base of the logic we define and use for null definitions. Okay? So here, if some values for some data attribute is missing, we call it null and it's empty. Okay, null is a specific value. It's not zero, it's not a number, it's not an empty string. It's a specific symbol to show that we don't know anything about this data attribute. Okay, and keys cannot be null. Okay, and also you can put the constraint that some of the fields cannot be skipped and they have to have some values and they cannot be null. Okay, but for the rest of the database, it's more convenient that you have this null, and sometimes if you don't know anything about the data attribute, you skip it. But so there is another problem when you are using null. The problem is when you are trying to evaluate the attribute. Okay, null from point of the projecting to the user is not a problem. Why? Why? It's empty. When you're selecting some rows to show to the user and the value is missing in that attribute, in some attributes in that row, then it's not, you're not doing anything. You just put empty space over there, okay? Or even if the value is missed for the foreign key constraint, the only thing you are missing is the relationship between the current row and the row in the parent table. Okay, you cannot make a connection because the foreign key value is missing. Okay, but when you are comparing something, when you are using these attributes in some conditions and the attribute is missing, then that's a problem, and that's a problem that we have to consider and we have to define a semantic for.
Is null and empty same?
Empty, not, what do you mean by empty?
I mean, it doesn't contain a value.
Empty, you mean empty string?
Yeah.
No, it's not same.
It's not same.
It's not same. Empty string is empty string.
So null means it's unknown.
Unknown. You haven't assigned any value. Okay? But empty string is that you have a string with length 0. Yes. So, okay. If we have the unknown condition, the unknown in the evaluation of the conditions, if one of the sides of the comparison operators is null, then the result will be unknown. Okay. Also, if one of the sides of the arithmetic operator is null, then the result will be null also. Okay, then in this case, again we get another null, and then we are comparing a null with a value. Okay, here and here we are raising unknown result from the evaluation of the condition. We don't know what's the result, either true or false. Okay, so for counting purpose and for aggregate purposes, also null doesn't have any meaning. So when you are facing it, when you are counting something and you are counting some values on some attributes, if the item is missing, then you are not counting that. So now let's see what's going on if we have a null inside of the comparison and the result of the comparison. So if we have the null inside of the comparison, then we have to customize, or we have to somehow define the three-variable logic to define a semantic for the query. Why do we need to define a semantic? Why do we need to specify what kind of? Because we need to tell to the developer what will happen if one side is null or one side or the condition is unknown. Otherwise, the result will not be a standard. So this is how we are treating null and unknown value in the condition statement. Okay, so when condition is false in the selected statement, okay, the row will be discarded, okay, and also when it is unknown, it is also discarded. But when the value is not unknown, then the value will be considered, okay? So another problem when we are inserting something to the table as a bulk, you know that you can insert some table or the result of a select value, select query to a table, okay? Suppose that in the result of the table, in the result of the select query, you will have some null value. So if it is a null and the item can be null, we just put the null in the data attribute. If it is a null, the item has a default value, then we will put this default value. If it is a null and the item cannot be null and there is no default value, what will happen? What will happen? We are running an insert query. The insert query is based on a select query. The select query gets some result from some other tables. One attribute is accidentally or based on the data we have on those tables is null. So we are executing this query, and also we have defined in the create table that attribute cannot be null, and there is no default value for that attribute. What is the result? We are executing the query. What will happen?
Some garbage value.
What?
Garbage value.
Garbage?
Some random value it will be.
No. Showing an error, and the transaction will fail, and nothing will happen, and everything will roll back. Okay, even if you inserted thousands of rows to the new table, but at the end you see that there is an item missing. Okay, then the transaction will roll back, and everything will be deleted. Okay, so this is the format of insert queries also. I guess we are done with the select queries and also views. Now we are getting to the part that we are considering some query statements that are changing the database. We call this update query. Why these update queries are important? No, update tables. Why? From what point of view these updates are different from the select queries?
It will modify the tables in the database. Select is just getting some value from the database. It will not change the database.
Right, not changing the database.
But modify update table will change the database.
Right. So one more thing, suppose you are a user and the database is in a remote location, and you are running the update query. The amount of data transferred is much less than the amount of data when you are running a select query. Why? Because when you are running an update, when you are running an insert, either you are sending data, and then the amount of data you are getting back is just the number of rows updated. Okay? But when you are running a select query, you are checking a view, then you are sending a query, and you are expecting a lot of information getting back. And also, from the client side of the system, you are as a developer, you are the person supposed to manage those data. Okay? Is that clear? So, the management of data will be different. People from Java class, one can explain why the management is very different? We talked about JDBC today. Select query, execute query, and execute update. Remember in JDBC, when we talked about JDBC, execute query was returning a result set. And the result set was a set collection. And it has a cursor, and you had to manage it. You have to go to the cursor, move the cursor, and see what records are. But when you are running an update query, we don't have any result set back. You just get a number. How many rows are affected, how many tables are affected, and that's it. Okay? So the type of these queries are very much different. Moreover, when you are handling updates, there is a very, very important concept. You are running a transaction. Okay? The transaction should have this ACID property. This ACID features. You know ACID features?
Atomicity.
The atomicity is very important. When you are running a transaction and in the middle of the transaction it fails, then what happens? It should be rolled back. The database cannot stay in the inconsistency state. Okay? So the whole mechanism is different for these queries than the queries that we considered in the previous two classes. Okay, we have two types of insert. We have a type of insert for using select, and we have a type of insert with insert values. So this is the syntax is very clear, is it? Is it very clear? Okay, so okay, now write a query to insert your information. You can skip the address part, but your information inside of this table. Write a query.
Using the values.
What? Insert the data corresponding to your information, your information to this table. Table is very clear. On this. Is there anyone still working on this? Everyone finished, right? Shall we move on? Okay, let's move on. I wanted to give you a more interesting problem, but for now. Okay, this is select insert. In the select, insert select, you are inserting instead of putting values over here and parentheses and set of values. You are running the select query that is generating values. One more feature this select query should have. First, tell me, anyone?
The same columns as.
Exactly, the same domains should appear over here. Specifically, if the same columns should appear over here if any column is not appearing over here and you want to miss it, you will put a space, empty space over there. And if the column is not nullable, it cannot be null, then the transaction will fail. If the domain is different and the data types cannot be converted and casted, then again the transaction will fail. If the data types can be casted, for example, if you have an integer, we had an integer over here. We have integer over here, but I put a string over there. So if the cast can happen, if you can cast a string to an integer if the string contains just numbers, right? So what will happen? What will happen? Any guess? You understand what I'm saying, right? What's the problem? You are trying to insert into this table, selecting from some other resources, okay? This first column of that table, that select is returning a string, but a set of characters, but the set of characters are just numerical and you are sure that those characters are showing a number, okay? So what will happen?
Implicitly casted.
Implicitly casted? Any other idea? Depends on the database and vendor, okay? So some of the databases are casting it, some of the database management systems are not casting it, okay? I think that MySQL open source databases are not casting. But some of the databases, they can prompt the user, prompt the developer, saying that, okay, listen, you are running this query, I got this result from some other tables, but this is not matching. Do I need to cast it or not? Or whatever I should do. Another interesting update query is delete. So delete is very simple. Delete is like select query, but there is no project list in the delete, and you are just defining the from clause and a where clause, like here. Another interesting query is update. So you are updating some person, setting a new value, a paid up value, a new value for that person, and it has a where clause defining and specifying which rows should be affected. Okay? So this update is affecting all the rows in a single table. Now problem. Suppose that you are updating something using a view. What will happen?
It will not reflect on the table. Only the view will change.
Only the view will change. So suppose that you have two tables. And the view is the result of this process, the result of this expression. So, what is the problem? First of all, the slide is explaining that views can be updated. Okay? Views can be updated. So this is not a case that the update query will go forward. But there is a problem over here. You can see what's the problem?
The tables modified the view.
I didn't get it.
About view or
The view.
whenever the tables get modified, the view won't get changed.
The view will change from down to top. If you change any of these tables, the view will change. But if we are changing the view, we can update the view. Okay? Then these two tables should be affected. And these two tables should be updated. But if suppose that here C is a part of a combinatorial key. Okay? When you are updating this view, which is selecting just A, B, and D, and C is not there. So by default, the value of C will not change. Okay? But you are updating B and A and B and D. Okay? Then if the key constraint is violated because of this update, then there is a big question. Now, what will happen? So, one answer is okay, no, this is second problem. Okay, so this is the problem that I explained. So, what will happen? You are missing a part of the key.
Just roll back maybe. Just give us the information that it
The
cannot do
update should
it.
fail. The update should not go through because the key constraint is the most important thing in the database. You're not able to violate the key constraint. Another problem. You are inserting to a view and when you are inserting, the new tuple is not in the view completely. So we learned about triggers, right? And we learned about check options. So we turn on the check option, we put a check option clause over there, and we check if it violates anything, right? Then we are not going forward. Okay? There is another solution. There is a solution over here. Okay, so one more question. You are inserting something into the view. For example, here, I'm inserting something to this view, and C is not nullable. So what will happen? Either the default will be assigned to C, or the transaction should be rolled back. So one more thing happens when you are deleting something. Okay? Suppose that you have a view of the student registration. Okay? And in that view, you have the student ID and also the courses the guy or the lady has registered for. Okay? So, and now you delete those rows matching the condition and the rows corresponding to a specific user, all of them are deleted. So what should happen? Should we delete the user, the student also or not? This is a problem. So there are also solutions. We can set null for the rest of the values for that person, or delete it from the parent table as well. We learned about cascade update and cascade delete, right? We talked about cascade update and cascade delete. This is exactly the cascade certain problems. Okay. So we talked about result sets and okay. Let's keep it in the Java class. Okay. The updating views are not possible when we are running an aggregate query on that. Why? Suppose that you have a view my view is this one. Select count start from T1 group by A. So if I delete anything from this table, what does it have? What does it mean? Can I delete anything from this table? This is the view. How many columns this view has?
A and B.
It has
I mean, only one column.
one column or two columns. Group by A. There's an A and there's a count. Okay. So it has two columns. And you want to delete, for example, delete all the rows for a person. Okay. Then it doesn't have any meaning. The other column is the function you calculated. Okay. The function is just in one direction. You cannot go back. Okay, so another constraint we have in the views are that we don't have any Cartesian product in the from clause. So it means that if we are updating anything, then if there is a join, then you cannot update it without any restriction. Okay, so we are done with this section.
Professor, isn't security a constraint when I'm updating the view and it reflects on the base table? It shouldn't allow that, right?
Security from the point of view that you are
As a user,
running the transaction.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm doing view is just to see, right? I mean, whatever tables or whatever
Right.
I want is just for the viewing, right? So it shouldn't reflect on the base table. If that is the case, then I can just use select star, right? If I'm going to make changes. Why is it?
If
a
you
view?
have if the user has the right to update the view, okay, and the view has the right to update the view, and it doesn't have you're saying that it doesn't have update right to the parent table, right? It's conflicting. okay, then it should be failed. It should be failed. Doesn't matter what you're deciding. You cannot because the main parent table is overriding the security. The security, as long as you are not authorized to do anything in some part, then you are not authorized. However, there are other conflicting rules that letting you to do some updates, and it's specific, and also more for the select and view. What was a very interesting question. Okay, so what's next on the schedule? What we are doing next? So we will go over triggers again to see how triggers are implemented. And then after the triggers, so, okay, triggers were an element of database schema, right? So they are basically small or big programs that we are binding them to a specific event, and if some specific event happens, we check some condition and then we act something, okay? The action should be execution of some update query or setting some alarms in other systems, okay? So the actions could be internal to the database or external to the outside of the database, okay? So for example here, we have this trigger that is triggered and that is basically turned on when we are changing the maximum course enrollment. Then in that case, we are checking if the number of the registered or the registered course is still greater than the updated number. So can you explain what does it mean?
The number of students that are registered?
What do I mean by this trigger?
If the maximum enrollment that is supposed to happen, if it exceeds number of students, then we roll back. We delete the students.
Delete the students. Okay. So was a good point. So anyone else can tell in the registration, in the school registration system. Okay. So can you bring an example when this happens?
25 people got registered.
What?
25 people got registered. The limit is set to 20, so automatically first five will be.
Right. This class has a 50% capacity. Okay. So suppose that some authorized person come and take this room from us, and the number of seats will decrease to 40, then the maximum of the enrollment will be changed to from 50 to 40, okay? So this event will be triggered, okay? Then we will check the condition. If there are more than 40 people register for this course, we have to kick out 5 of them, okay? So we are doing this action. The register students using last name, first name. So there are so in execution of the triggers, there are 2 points that we have to consider. First, we have to check the activation of triggers. Okay. Can you bring an example? What do I mean by the activation of the triggers?
Maybe on an update you trigger
The event when the trigger is activated.
Maybe when you're updating or inserting
It is
something to
happening.
that.
Right. Okay, except these people. Anyone else?
When a condition is met, then the action triggers.
Okay. So the point, the implementation point is that basically either we are proactively or reactively check the database. Okay. If we are checking the database and the event reactively, it means that on a certain period of time we are going and checking the if we are checking the database proactively on a certain period of time, we are going and checking if the trigger is the event is triggered or not. If it is active, it is activated reactively, then there is a program and there is something like some mechanism like interruption is happening. So you'll sit on your desk and someone will call you and say that, okay, I'm going to update this. So this the way that you are binding these updates to these triggers.
So the trigger is, it takes place when there's some error or something happens, or?
The trigger takes place when this event you are defining over here gets triggered. For example, here, when you update the maximum number of the maximum course enrollment, then this will be triggered, and then this condition will be considered, and then this action will be executed correspondingly. So, okay, now there is another point. When you check the activation and the trigger is activated, now the question is when the condition should be checked. Okay, immediately, or you can delay the condition. This is the time that the condition is able to execute it or evaluate it. In which condition? Which condition? This condition.
Immediately.
Okay, it depends on what you are defining, and also it depends on the vendor of the database. Okay, immediately has a very large cost. Why? Suppose that for every update you are going to add another condition. It's very difficult to execute. It's a kind of adding one function call to the Java program. And you add one function call, and the function call is executed in a loop of 20 million times, iterations. Then the effect of adding one function call will be a lot. Okay? So you have to, for each of iteration, you have to go to this stack, come out, and check it. Okay, so, and also, there is another point about the semantic of the condition. The condition can refer either to the previous state or the post state of the event, okay, the execution. Here, what is the condition about? Is it about the previous state or after state? Before state or after state? Because we are checking a new maximum enrollment limit is not violated. Okay, so suppose that you have a table . This client number, you have this amount of money, and you have this Boolean or true false, send or receive. In the client ID, you have the client ID that sending some money or getting some money from you, giving you some money to you or getting some money from you. And send and receive when receive is true, send is true, then you are getting money from that person. When it is false, you are giving money to that person. Okay. Write a trigger to check the balance always positive. Write a trigger to check the balance always positive.
Greater, if it is greater.
Select the,
Yeah,
first you just select this amount,
yeah, and then
and from, let's call the table payment. Okay, from payment, and then this is the value. This should be
it has to be
less than, if it is less than 0, then you have to reactivate it. Okay. The first plus when? So the second plus is going to the person. 2 pluses for the second part. It's very interesting.
Can't we just give rollback?
Rollback, no, you have to write a query. I told you that delete someone. You're not rolling back. You know, rolling back is easy. What was your name?
regard.
Should be deleted if the amount, if his or her amount is equal to this one. Okay? The amount is this one. It should be deleted. Start from payment. Is that clear? Is not clear? So this part is clear or not? This part.
That's having.
This part is
That's
clear
fine.
because suppose I'm telling that you have a giving person. You are a getting person. You are getting some money. Then the amount is negative, but the amount you are getting is the minimum. Okay. It means that
Also,
the
like,
minimum.
instead of that query, you can write select min of amount from payment directly, right? Like, I mean, it will select anyways the lowest amount. Anyways. I mean, like if -1, -2 is there, it will automatically select -2 because it's
No, because this is maximum.
no, like less than 0.
Okay, less than 0.
I mean, like less than 0, maximum is like minimum, right?
No.
No, it means the maximum.
The maximum, suppose that maximum is not minimum. Maximum is
Because like we have
the
to.
absolute value of the maximum. The absolute value is the
No,
minimum.
like we have
Suppose
to.
that you have 1,000, 2, 5.
No, I understand. Sorry, I was
Zero,
wrong. But minus one, like you asked, like we have to delete the minimum paying rate, right?
Yeah, minimum getting person.
The minimum.
Getting person. The person getting, it means that the amount is negative. It means that we are giving that money to that person, okay? So minimum getting person is that the person who is getting the minimum money from us, okay? So suppose that among these people, 1,000, 2, 0, not 0, let's put, 0 is okay, but let's put 1. 1,000, 2, 1, minus 1, minus 3, minus 2,000. Which one should be deleted?
You are doing with minus one should be deleted.
Okay.
I thought minus 2,000.
No, minus 2,000 shouldn't be deleted. The person who is getting minimum money. So therefore, first you have to find this max, what this max is. Okay, this max is here, this max is minus 1. Okay? Because among these numbers, minus 1 is the maximum. Okay? We put this condition, amount is equal to, is less than 0. Okay, these numbers are selected, and minus 1 is the maximum. Then we check in the original table if the amount is equal to that one, we delete that person. Okay, so it's obvious. Should I give you a interesting homework or not?
Professor, can we first sort the table to descending
Four,
order and just
15 or-
compare and delete?
Sorry, excuse me, is that 415 or?
Yes, that's good.
Oh, okay, so what was the question?
Can we just sort the table once to descending order and compare and delete?
Listen, we don't have sort here. We don't have cursor. Okay? We have, when we have maximum and minimum, we don't need sort. Right? We don't need to sort. We just get maximum easily. So sorting is important when you have a result set. Like you are working in Java. Okay? Here sorting doesn't matter. So, okay. I'll put out the homework out tonight. The homework will not include triggers. So.
What? What, Professor?